When I had the opportunity with Starbucks, I knew that was my ticket, and there would be nothing that would stop me from being the best I could possibly be.
Jay Siano, welcome to Keep Rising with Christy Cool.
Thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure to have you on this show.
It's a pleasure to know you.
It's a pleasure to know you as well. I have to say, I'm on a mission, as you know, to show people exactly what success looks like. And growing up in a one-stoplight town, I was looking for mentorship in my 20s and having a sales career. And nobody would say what it looked like because everybody's competing with each other.
Sure.
And so you get a bunch of lies and stories. And so a big piece of everything that I'm doing and the purpose of this podcast is to encourage people to keep rising. Yeah. I believe they're so much closer than they think, and to give them the tools and the resources to get from where they are to where it is that they're trying to go, even if it's just taking that next step.
Sure.
You had asked me to be on your podcast a few months ago, and I'm like, just wait. I want to do this one in real life, in person with you. Something energetically told me, and I was like, I need to get to New York anyway. So I said yes, and I knew intuitively that I need to spend time with you. And it wasn't really even until I got to New York that I started doing my research on you. And I'm like, dude, I'm always right on these things. Like, this guy, you have a lot of receipts. And I knew that energetically because you don't have anything to prove. When I met you online, like, you don't have anything to prove. And I went to your Instagram and it says advisor to game changers. And then I see Starbucks and Chipotle and Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and massage and all these places. And I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to have this conversation.
Well, first off, very, very kind words. I appreciate that. I'm not necessarily used to kind words, but I do enjoy them. Okay. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're going to get a lot of them today. Having spent a lot of time in the corporate sector and sales and chasing corporate deals, $1 million to $15 million deals, I listened to a podcast about you and how you've opened up some of these doors. And I got to say, like, the adrenaline started to run through my veins. I'm like, man, I could chase down some things with this guy. The way that you've moved and made these things happen. Again, I knew that you don't have anything to prove because you've done it all and you've proved it to yourself. But can you talk a little bit about, first story, how did you open up the door for Starbucks?
Yeah, it's actually a really good story because I was very unqualified when I had the opportunity to pitch the account. And the opportunity actually resulted from a senior broker at the company that I was working for at the time. I was about a year and a half in the business, and he invited me on the pitch. And we show up to the pitch.
How old were you at this time?
I was 26.
Okay.
They were probably around 26 years old. And we showed up to the pitch, and he completely was unprepared to the point where he was actually like stumbling, getting words out. But in all honesty, it was one of the most intimidating rooms I'd ever been in.
Yeah.
The top executives at Starbucks that showed up into this pitch meeting there was way too many of them, and they were way too at a high level to really be in this meeting on some level. So he was very intimidated.
Did they purposely create an environment?
Yes, for sure.
Throw you off? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mentioned Starbucks a little bit when we were on my podcast, and they had a knack for really checking you, gut checking you, and so on. And I learned a lot through the account. So basically, when he completely was shitting the bed, and I was a green junior level person that had no track record at this point, I stepped in because I didn't have a choice. And I said, if I may, and I started to go into how the company that I worked for was really great at what we do. Not how I was really great at what we do, because I wasn't. So that meeting as a result ended up, I kind of like salvaged the meeting, but we did not by any means present a good case as to why we should be working with Starbucks. Got back to the office. The owner of the company already got a call that the meeting didn't go really well. And we were called into his office, and I took accountability for my part in it. And the other gentleman who invited me on the pitch just really wasn't qualified to do the work.
Yeah.
Turns out that there was a silver lining. They actually enjoyed meeting me and wanted me to come back with somebody else to repitch. Mm-hmm. We did that and won the account.
Wow. At 26.
At 26.
So what did that look like? What were you doing for them?
So Starbucks has an exclusive broker that basically designs every territory across the U.S. So you have a certain geography that you represent them in exclusively, and you are essentially a bolt-on attachment to their real estate program. So I really learned what I do from the school of Starbucks, and Starbucks is arguably one of the best real estate companies and educations that you can get. A lot of it came out of McDonald's. So a lot of the top execs at the time at Starbucks had come from McDonald's.
Did you have this vision for yourself at all to No.
I think the stuff that you're talking about, like I had to really make tough decisions when pivotal moments happened in my life. So for me, as I mentioned, I grew up in an automobile dealership world where my grandfather was a very successful automobile dealer, and my parents owned dealerships. And, so I grew up in that world as a kid, walking around the dealership as the owner's son, which I was always insecure about.
Yeah.
And fast forward, I went to college in Arizona. I just wanted to go far and just be independent at a young age. Moved to Arizona at 17. And unfortunately, my mom passed away right when I graduated. So I was essentially like,
Were you close to your mom?
Oh yeah, like the closest that one can possibly be. So for me, like I just navigated college, having a good time. I was a DJ. I was a nightclub promoter. I was good enough at school to be able to be good enough at school to get good enough grades without really applying myself. So I always had a knack for that. And I was always, regardless of the fact that I grew up in a very loving, amazing, wonderful household in a upper class part of Long Island, New York, I was in a lot of ways a street kid. So I had both the book smarts and the street smarts, and would get myself into trouble and hang out with the wrong crowds. And I was friends with everybody. That's the thing. I was also an athlete. I had a bad injury in high school. I was in bed for half a year, homeschooled, which changed actually everything for me as well. That was a pivotal moment because I was against all of the substances and drinking and all the things that were happening around me because I was an athlete. And then when I lost that changed for me.
What age was that?
That was, call it 16, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you reach for coping?
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became my best friend.
Yeah.
All of those insecurities went away when I drank.
Yeah. I get it. What was the injury?
I actually bent my knee 180 degrees the wrong way. So
what does that mean?
Yeah. I was a big snowboarder. So I was practicing snowboarding on a trampoline with my buddy. I had a trampoline in my backyard. This happened to be in his backyard. And we were just messing around on the trampoline. He double jumped me. I was up super high in the air, came down. He kicked me like off balance as I came down on one leg from really high up on a trampoline, was laying down and my leg was straight, but my foot was in my armpit. So I was kind of confused as to what had happened.
Wow.
And I literally pulled myself over to the edge of the trampoline and put my legs off of it. And my left leg just was swinging in the wind and about 6 inches below my right leg.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I'm intrigued on the Starbucks thing, like that being the first major door that you opened up. And did you see the vision for yourself at that point that you were going to replicate that? At what point when you started, what number Starbucks location did you guys open when you're like, oh, I got a thing here. I'm going to go do this again somewhere?
Yeah. So in my mind, once my mother passed away and my dad basically sold the family business, and we had conversations about it. I wasn't ready to come into the family business having just graduated college. My dad was really tough Italian military Marine. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that working with him directly at that age would have been a big challenge for him and I. So I elected to just say, I want nothing to do with it. Do what you want. And he sold the business, got remarried 3-4 months later, asked me to be his best man. I told him that wasn't going to happen and had to figure out what I was going to do when I grew up. Right. So when I had the opportunity with Starbucks, I knew that was my ticket and there would be nothing that would stop me from being the best I could possibly be.
Were you making any money at that time?
Job. Not at all. I had no health insurance, had zero income, started to borrow money from the company that I worked for.
Draw.
Yeah, I had a draw. Was living off of that and DJing and promoting nightclubs still and having fun, lots of fun. So I was living 2 lives at that point.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had an insecurity about being the owner's son.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Again, like I kind of prided myself on being this young, tough, like guy that would be out in the streets with kids that were kind of on the wrong path and really good kids as well, right? Like I was in all of the different peer groups, so to speak. So for me, like for some reason coming in and hearing that's the owner's kid, F him, like that type of shit just really bothered me at a young age, right? So like I think it's a big reason. I reflect on these things now because I just forget about this part of my life, right?
Yeah.
Probably intentionally. And then a lot of that is also clouded through the use of alcohol, where I just, a lot of it is intentionally, especially after my mom passed, a lot of it was intentionally numbed and blurred out. So I feel like in ways I was not living, like my television was partial color TV, a lot of black and white up until I really removed everything from my life and started to get to know myself without just, again, like drinking or numbing myself to deal with high stress. I just never liked that feeling. So like when my dad and I had that really tough conversation, I'll never forget it. I just came home from a nightclub. It was about 6 a.m., walked in the door. He probably thought I was sleeping somewhere. I wasn't. I just got home. And we had the conversation, and I was definitely not completely sober during the conversation, but I remember it vividly. And that was my time to just say, hey, I'm doing this shit it was my face tattoo.
Yeah.
I was like, I want nothing to do with this. And then after, of course, felt sorry for myself when I realized the life that I chose, how difficult it was going to be.
Yeah. You had to figure it all out.
Yeah. And it wasn't a quick path. Like any real entrepreneurial journey is not a quick path.
No.
Yeah.
No, it certainly isn't. So you get Starbucks. And
yes.
How many did you help?
Yeah. So I designed the Long Island market for Starbucks. They had, call it, several dozen locations at that time in my trade area. So basically what I learned to do was design their entire strategy that would get them to maximum capacity within that geography. So that's really where I learned, what I do now for a living. Now I do it on a national basis and work for companies that are in their earlier stage of growth and work directly with the founders and the C-suite and help them decide how many units they're going to open, what the potential is across the US. So for Starbucks at the time, we based it on qualified households and how many locations we would open at saturation based on population. So, and this was a time when obviously we did not have the same technology that we have today and the access to the data that we have today. So a lot of that was done manually and just utilizing maps and other programs that were not very sophisticated. So I think that also helped me become really, really good at what I do now because I understand how to do it in a completely analog way, but also best in class with digital tools that allow us to marry the art and the science of what we do. So ultimately, we got to a place where we had a living and breathing map that every time that we ended up negotiating a deal, opening a store, that would have a reflection on the rest of the strategy. So as you get towards saturation, you're now also converting cafes without drive-throughs to drive-throughs, which was the biggest initiative. So over my career, I was representing Starbucks in some way, shape, or form. I stepped out of the account, kind of passed it off to people on my team for 18 years in total, have done between New York and New Jersey about 175 Starbucks deals.
Wow. How many do they have in the country?
In the country, I don't know, but there's tens of thousands at this point. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, Starbucks, that was my MBA. Yeah. So for me, that was my MBA. And then from there, I was visiting friends in LA from college while I just about a year in maybe to the Starbucks account and was working out of a FedEx Kinko's to date myself at the time. And I saw this like interesting facade across La Cienega. And I left my stuff on the desk and I like just walked towards it and walked into the first Chipotle I'd ever seen. And right when I walked in, I was like, this is interesting. Like, this is something.
What was so interesting about it? Like, what caught your attention?
I've been so fortunate to like just be involved in like my gut for new exciting things that are going to go far is at this point, I could say confidently, I have a really good gut for these things.
Yeah.
So, and part of my favorite thing to do is to travel and walk into places and be like, this has the potential to be the next Chipotle. This has the potential to, right? Not easy to do, obviously, but I've been able to be at the ground floor of many businesses that have done it at this point in my career, which is amazing. And you start to realize that there's kind of a blueprint, and it is an art and a science, but you can, once you do it enough with multiple companies, every client of mine, like my goal is for them to think that they're my only client.
Sure.
Right. So, and if you could do that across the board with a lot of different businesses, you become almost a savant where I could speak about AM coffee the same way that I could speak about a later on client, Orange Theory. Like I would pride myself in knowing almost every studio across the country, how many classes they had on a Thursday, right? So these are the types of things that I would study, because the next time that I was having a conversation with a new client or a prospect, I could lean on that information to let them know how knowledgeable I am in the space, right? So when you work with a Starbucks, you work with a Chipotle, you work with an Orange Theory, you work with best-in-class brands at the beginning of, not Starbucks at the beginning, but Orange Theory from their first studio, and you've been an integral part of that process, all the other people that are in a similar business, that's all they want to know is like, how is that? What's the special sauce to this, right? Yeah. So, and again, I'm very fortunate to be in the rooms that are really creating that special sauce, right? So I think at this stage, and I have a lot of itches to scratch, because I also think that I could do that in a lot of different ways.
Oh my gosh, so many.
Yeah.
So many.
But I love representing businesses and advising them and, you know, designing
So
strategies.
you saw that Chipotle had something there.
Oh, yeah.
So then, like, what was your next move? This is the thing that I want people to, a lot of people that listen to my podcast and that follow me, they're inspired by the fact that I left corporate and I'm doing something that has all the things, and it can look like I just landed over here.
Yeah.
And the same thing as the rise in corporate America, and the same for you. But I want them to understand, like, okay, what was the next move? What did you do? Yes. What are the mechanics of this?
Yeah.
Because it's not just a matter of like, oh, okay, well, I put one phone call in, nobody called me back, I should move on, right? So how did you catch, like, once you were like, whoa, there's something here?
Christy, when you grow up with, again, like I went from living in this nice life to having to move to the hood so I could afford an apartment for $350, right?
Has that trauma cleared yet, by the way?
Has that what?
Has that trauma cleared yet?
It's such a great part of my life, right? Like the fact that, like, I'm not trying to sound cool by saying that was my reality. So, you know, but when you're starving,
what are the details?
But here's the thing, when you have it and then it's removed from you, it might even be worse than never having it.
Oh,
right. So that
1,000%.
Yeah. And no, the trauma will never be gone. Right.
Survival skills. Right. Yeah,
so for me, it was like, okay, like I'm going to figure this out. So to answer your question, the minute that I got in my mind that Chipotle was my next thing, I wasn't going to sleep until I had the opportunity to work at a minimum to present to them why I'm best qualified to represent them. That's
I'll feel better if I can at least.
So how did I do that?
Yeah.
Very simple. In my world, in the traditional commercial real estate side, again, there's the director of real estate that's in charge of a certain geography. So all I knew was I needed to get the person's name at Chipotle that was responsible for the New York metro area.
Yep.
I got that information. I reached out to them, and I completely just focused on getting in front of him. So step one. I did it in a way
where the first piece of the sale that you need to close.
That's it.
Close him to say yes to having a conversation.
Correct. And I don't want to have a conversation over the phone. No. I want the opportunity to sit down with you so I can show you what it is that I would do if I was representing you, if I had the opportunity to work with you. So from there, I scheduled a meeting with him. There was a conference coming up a few months from that point, scheduled a meeting. And I did all of the work I described that I did for Starbucks in my geography. I took the same geography and I did it for Chipotle. And I did it in a way that, again, I made a bunch of assumptions. I didn't need it to be perfect because how would I know exactly what they wanted? But at least they see
your process.
Correct. In addition to that, I'm a savant of understanding consumer behavior and what makes a business tick. So I understood that they have lunch, they have dinner. Obviously, those 2 day parts are really important to them. They don't have breakfast. So what does that mean to me? It means a daytime population is probably something that they're really focused on in order to have a good lunch. What is a good daytime population? 20,000 people in 2 miles in the suburbs, so on and so forth. So I start putting that stuff together. I put together beautiful maps and packages on not only the entire strategy as if I was already hired, but now a bunch of locations that I think would work really well for them, right? So I show up to the meeting and I present the entire strategy and give them really well thought out options that would happen that I thought would be good for them based on what I knew about them. And the director of real estate literally turns to me and he's like, "Why'd you do all this?" And I said, "What do you mean, why did I do all this?" He goes, "I don't know if I would hire you. And I feel like you could have potentially wasted a lot of time by putting all this together. And if you turn it over to me, I could use it and hire somebody else." I'm like, "I'm not worried about that. I don't know how else I would show up and tell you that I think I'm best in class and qualified to represent you." And he said, "I've never seen somebody put this amount of work into something where they had zero confidence that they were going to land the business. Like, I feel obligated to work with you." And that's basically how it went down. But it was also like, I was pretty, in my world of commercial real estate brokerage, there are people that will submit sites that are the size of an Orange Theory to Home Depot. There are people that would submit sites the size of a Home Depot to Orange Theory, right? So it's not really that difficult to be a standout by actually like understanding how to match up a square peg with a square hole. But when you go the extra mile, I mean, it pays off. And if you're not willing to go the extra mile, how do you ever expect to be best in class at anything?
Yeah. How many people do you think today operate like that?
In the traditional commercial real estate world or in general?
Just in general.
Very few.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're going towards that or away from that?
Away from that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
I mean, I have a pretty good, based on my company and hiring and training. And by the way, I still do what I just described to you. I still do that for most of our clients, right? Like, I have teams of people that I rely on heavily, but at the same time, like this year, I literally, beginning of the year, I was like, I'm getting too far away from, like, I need to be a lot more involved in these processes and making sure that we're elevating everything within the business to the way I would do it, right? Because the minute you start taking your eye off the ball, it's really easy to slip. Yeah. And I'm not doing this for, I only want to do something that I can now take what the little success I had as an independent real estate broker and convert that to my company becoming the best in the country. Like, that's where I intend to go. Yeah.
That's a standard of yours.
Yeah.
One more story that I want you to share.
Sure.
Is it Massage Envy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you share that story?
Yeah. That's actually a good story. So I transitioned out of the small boutique retail only company that I was mentored at basically and learned the business at to CB Richard Ellis, the largest corporate commercial real estate company in the world.
Is this after Starbucks?
This is after Starbucks. Starbucks, I landed in, call it 2002, right? 2003, Chipotle 2003, 2004. I take a contract to go to CBRE. I get health insurance for the first time. Crazy. I could actually snowboard without worrying so much about my injuries. And I start there in January of 2007. I have a 5-year contract that they were fortunate, or I was fortunate, to receive a signing bonus. The first thing that positive in business, the first time I ever got ahead, where like, because in my world, again, like we're getting paid on deals that we did 1, 2, 3 years ago, right? So there's a big tail, which makes it an even more high barrier to entry business. But
Capital Med Device is the same way. You start now and you're like 24 months. How can I condense this? But potentially that's.
So, I mean, that people that do that type of business for a living in sales.
Talk about resiliency and mental toughness. I mean, it's a whole nother.
It's very depressing. It's not for everyone. And there's so many people I know that shouldn't be doing it. And I think some of the best work I've ever done is tell people that transparently. Like,
you're just not wired for this. Like, this is going to destroy you. Yeah.
Totally. Right. Yeah. Destroy your family, you need to really think about that. So I get to CBRE and now it's January 2007 and I'm smiling and dialing. And I'm like, what companies are out there that look like they're expanding? And I end up discovering Massage Envy, and I find out that they're based in Arizona, and I went to college in Arizona. There was that. All of a sudden, that was like the next thing that I became like obsessed with, similarly to Chipotle.
And that's a point too, is like when people are like, where do I start? Like sometimes just having some silly thing like that, you're like, well, I went to this college and let me look in this zip code. At least you get started.
Totally.
Instead of going like, oh my gosh, the country's so big. Where do I begin? I don't know. Pick a spot.
And by the way, the country's not that big, right? Like when you start to get into that space of like, oh my goodness, this little area is so big. And then you start to work the entire country. It's small.
It really is.
Right? Like I'm ready to go overseas. So basically, I call Massage Envy corporate. They're franchise. At the time, I don't really know the difference. Like every client I have is corporate in nature, right? So Massage Envy's a franchise. And they said, oh, your territory that you're calling about is owned by a franchisee, a master developer. So I said, great. Can I get their phone number? Yes. I call this gentleman on his cell phone. And he's like, well, it's really nice to meet you. And I have good news and bad news. I'm like, what's that? He's like, I'm actually coming into your market and touring with your competitor on Monday. This was like a Thursday. I said, okay. I said, when do you get into town? He's like, I get in Sunday morning. I said, great. I'm going to pick you up at the airport. We're going to tour Sunday. And he's like,
so you didn't ask?
No, I just said, this is what we're going to do. Right. And it's funny because I'm so young and I'm so right. And it's
do you think ignorance is helpful?
Oh, so much so. I still wish I didn't know as much as I know. Right. That's why I said earlier, you're too smart for your own good, right? Like, but it's also about being aggressive in a way that's not nervy and working against you. I truly wanted to tour him because I knew that I could do a better job. Yeah. Simple, right? I'm helping him in my head, right? And I have the confidence now and a little bit of a track record that, and by the way, like when I get to a new place, I was the top producer at the place I left. Now I'm the bottom producer. Right. So for me, that's not a good feeling. So I'm not going to bed till I'm I'm on my way. Right. I've earned my stripes. So he agrees. And it's I've never told this part of the story. I'm driving to pick him up and I pull into LaGuardia and I see the car in front of me, like something comes out of the sunroof and some of it hits my windshield. And I'm like, what was that money? And I drive. And LaGuardia is like a war zone. There's no place to stop, right? It's like 3 lanes of track, whatever it is. And the sprinklers are on the grass next to me. I pull my truck up right onto the grass. It's getting soaking wet. I'm getting soaking wet. I get out of the car and I see like something in the distance. It's a money clip, right? With a stack of cash. And then all the cash that got separated from the money clip is everywhere on the lawn getting soaked by a sprinkler. So I take 3 trips, go and throw the money into the back of my truck. Crazy story. It's like not even believable. So I show up, literally, I'm like, that was nuts. I drive up to the gate, pick him up. He gets in the car. I'm like, dude, the craziest thing just happened. He's like, nice to meet you. I'm like, look in my back seat. It's all wet money, hundreds. It was that.
Like, where'd you just come from?
It was thousands of dollars in cash. Okay. So that's how my day started. Anyway. So
things are looking up.
Even if I shit the bed with this, today was a win. So I end up literally touring with him for some obscene amount of hours, which is very normal in my world. Yeah. And I'm just happy that I have his attention for like that amount of time. And we tour the entire market head to toe. And I'm as prepared as you could possibly be. And for things like that, this is another good tip. I would oftentimes be in my office putting things together myself. Forget the marketing team, the this, the that. I would put the things together. So I knew everything. Yeah. Right. So I knew every single site I was showing. I knew every single detail about what the asking rents were, so on and so forth. And so I would oftentimes, before a Starbucks tour, a Chipotle tour, now a Massage Envy tour, I'd be in the office till 2 a.m. easily and go home, sleep a few hours, and then be ready for game day. Yeah. So we tour the entire day and we get to the end of the day and he says, I really, really appreciate what you did on a Sunday for me. And I'm going to call your competitor and let him know I'm not coming tomorrow. What happened from there is one of the craziest stories of how that client transitioned into the founder of Orange Theory Fitness. So really? That's how it happened. So the guy that I picked up that day at the airport ended up being a co-founder of Orange Theory. Wow. So
you did the work with Massage Envy with him.
Yeah, for 5 states. So that was my first foray into learning geographies outside of New York Metro. And then I learned so much about the franchise business through them. I get a phone call from them probably maybe like 18 months, 2 years into working with them with Massage Envy. They're like, we have something to show you. Fly to Florida, which I spent a lot of my time in Florida. It's a second home. And
what part?
Between Boca and Miami.
Okay.
Yeah. South Florida.
Yeah. Love it.
The 6th borough. It's New York on the ocean. So I fly in and I meet them at European Wax Center, which was a unknown business that had 2 locations in South Florida. I walk in, they tour me throughout the facility, which looks nothing like what European Wax Center looks like today. And they said, what do you think? I'm like, what is this institutionalized, sterile place? What goes on here? It's a waxing center. And most women are getting waxed at a salon and, or a nail salon, whatever it is. It's an afterthought. We think that if we specialize in being the best at waxing, that, there's a big business here. So we're partnering with the owners of the company, 2 brothers, to franchise it and roll it out. What do you think? So I think it's brilliant, so on and so forth. So I end up working with them from the inception of them creating a franchise out of European Wax Center. But that's just good fortune. So for me, this client that was a very typical client ended up changing the world in a lot of ways. And I was just along for the ride. Fast forward, about a year after that, we're working with Massage Envy now and with European Wax Center. And I'm touring. One of the reasons I got into commercial real estate, not residential, is because you don't have to work weekends and tour families around and open houses and all that stuff. And this gentleman asked me to tour on a Saturday with his family. And of course, I'm going to tour on a Saturday with family, even though I couldn't go out and get too hammered the night before and show up. So I did that, and we're driving in the car, and his wife is talking about a concept called Ellen's Ultimate Workout. And he and I are like laughing at each other at the name. And she's like, no, I'm telling you guys, there's something really special about this concept. And she's telling her husband, when we get back to Florida, you need to speak to Ellen. And I'm telling you, there's something there. Fast forward, Ellen is the face of Orange Theory. So that conversation in the car transitioned to him having a meeting with Ellen Latham, and he and his partner founding Orange Theory with Ellen. So yeah, it's crazy. It's funny because I know how big of a part of my career that's been, that trifecta from, again, one aggressive, I'm touring with you on Sunday, turned into one of my biggest wins in business for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So much in all of that. I interviewed Sherry Wang. So she's Tim Grover's agent.
Yeah.
And she made this name for herself in publishing. And she's like, I was just too dumb to understand. I seriously was just, I was 23 years old and I was just going for it. And I'm like, man, there's a piece of that ignorance that I wish I could go back to too, because then you think about it and you prep for it, and to have the discernment to go for those things, and also where the preparation is too.
Yeah. It's preparation meeting opportunity.
It really
right?
is.
And there's so much opportunity, but you have to create that opportunity.
You do.
You can't just wait around.
It's not
opportunity to knock.
Yeah. Yeah. These people that say I just have to be patient. I'm like, well, no.
Well,
you do have to have
You're
patience.
not going to win at the highest level if you're waiting for patience. Yes, very important, especially when you close a deal today and you're getting paid in 18 months. That's called patience.
Yeah.
You got to close the deal though, right?
Yeah. You got to be doing the things that that are going to get you closer.
That's right.
To closing that deal. So when did you realize that I'm going to do this for myself now? I'm going to stop working. I'm just going to stop giving a portion of this. It's always that part when you're working. I know it was for me in corporate where I'm like, I am the face of I am bringing these people so much money.
Yeah.
And also, if I didn't have the confines of what I had to do over here, I could do this better and I could serve the customers better.
Totally.
When did you have that realization?
Yeah, for me, it was really, I had a 5-year contract at CBRE. And as that was winding down, I was done. It was very corporate in nature. I wore a suit and tie from the minute I started in the business. Even when I was asked to show up on a Saturday to move Starbucks office, shout out Dan Shallett, who still makes fun of me that I showed up on a Saturday in a suit and tie to help them move their office. I always, and I said at the time, whenever I was asked, I'm dressing for the job that I want, not the job that I have. Being so young in a business that's predominantly much older, for me, it was important to show up and almost act as if I had already arrived or I took it seriously.
What's that movie where they say that? I'm not going to finish that sentence, but what is that? It's a New York movie.
Oh, Boiler Room?
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Yes.
That's a Long Island movie, no less. Stratton Oakmont. Jordan Belfort.
It's true, though.
Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
Right? That's based off of Boiler Room. I know people in that world too from back in those days.
I bet.
And I think that's where the New York kind of masculine energy that you were referring to, sometimes it's maybe a little too masculine. But what was the question?
So when did you realize that you're like, all right, I'm going to do this for myself?
Yeah. So for me, I knew that chapter of my life was coming to an end. And it had nothing to do with keeping more of the pot. It was all about, where do I actually want to go work next? At that point, I had established myself enough to be sought after by the usual companies that I would go work for. But the cultures weren't a fit for me, right? I'm a pretty heavily tattooed person that is just not built for corporate business. It's something I respect, but it's just not me. And I'd gotten to a point where I was like, I don't really want to wear the suit and tie anymore. Like, I'm not putting the penguin suit on because I don't feel like I have to anymore. And by the way, most of my clients are also tattooed and chefs and fitness people and so on and so forth. Like, why am I actually making myself less relatable to my client, but more relatable to like the executives at my firm? They're not my clients. Like, this is weird. So I
always say, when you to be the person you're not is to waste the person you are.
Yeah.
And your people can't find you.
Yeah, but I think, again, back to the point of having to kind of do the things you don't want to do to get to a point in your career that you could actually start to do the things you want to do.
Great
and be
distinction.
Like, hey, listen,
that's such a great distinction.
If you don't want to work with me because I'm showing up in a t-shirt and I have tattoos and a beard, no, I actually feel bad for you because I guarantee I'm going to do a better job. But And that's not cocky. That's just confidence that comes with working hard for a long period of time and truly operating in the best interest of people.
Yeah.
And you know what? You become pretty successful and good at what you do when you're mission driven like that. And you're not just, this isn't about the money for me. I'm very superstitious, where I actually just had a very big deal die at lease execution when my team sent me a commission agreement to review and to get executed before the lease was signed. I don't talk about that ever, but I'm in sales. Don't show me money. Don't show me what this deal is going to end up, what kind of check is coming out of this deal before the deal's done. I don't want to talk about it, but it's tough because you also have to get commission agreements signed. But
agreed.
Anyway, so I just had a huge deal die at lease execution the day that came across my desk. So for me, I kind of felt like, if there's not a place that I want to go work, then why don't I create a place for people like me who actually want to go to work, right? So a place that maybe is a little bit more current and a little bit more about the culture and the type of people that are like-minded, that don't necessarily feel like there's a home for them. And I felt that responsibility. And by the way, I wouldn't do it all over again. So I don't think I would have started my company if I could go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would stay as an employee?
I never was an employee. I was always, independent contractor. So everybody, all real estate people walk around as if they are the owners of a company and entrepreneurs and so on and so forth, but they only sign the back of checks.
Yeah.
So maybe I could have taken the easier route, but that's not me.
Yeah, no, not at all. Tell me about your relationship with alcohol. Did it continue from 16 all the way through?
It did.
All this success that we just talked about.
Yeah.
You're drinking every night? Every day?
No, I would drink. For me, it wasn't about necessarily the frequency.
Yeah.
It was about, when I'm drinking, I'm drinking.
You're good at it.
I'm good at stuff, and I don't go half in. I'm not
nowhere.
I'm not having a bottle of wine with you. I'm having as many of the best bottles that the restaurant has until I can, stumble out and numb the pain.
Do you know the source of the pain? What were you numbing from?
Yeah, the loss of my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, my drinking wasn't problematic before that.
Yeah.
I referenced being in a scary place. Like, for me, when I lost my mother, talk about feeling alone. My mother, the role that she had in my family was, she was the parents. So I kind of lost both. And then my dad relocated, got remarried, and essentially cut me off. So I lost my family. My sister and I are super close, but I lost my parents, I should say, at that moment, in my early 20s. And I felt bad for myself. And I was angry. And I'm no longer angry, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
You know, I lost my dad last year, but yeah, thank you.
Do you feel sad?
When I stop to think about it, I feel really sad, you know? And I'm good with that because I think that's what makes me a good person. You can love me or hate me. If we're competing and I'm beating you, I understand that you might not like me. That's okay. But I'm doing it in the most honest, transparent way. It's just sport. I'm just going to be really good on the field, right?
Yeah.
But if you truly dislike me and you don't know who I am, I sleep really well at night because I know my character.
Yeah.
And if somebody attacks my character, I have an army of people around me that would rise to the occasion.
Yeah,
I don't need
same.
to protect myself.
I feel the same.
Yeah, that's living congruently, right?
It really is.
And it's taken a lot of work to be able to say what I just said.
Yeah, because the arrows come.
Oh, for sure.
They do.
You know?
And to look at yourself at the mirror at the end of the day and be like, no, I know how that went down and I know my intention. I know, and I know what they got going on probably.
That's right.
That's allowing them to act that way.
For sure.
So now you're okay with feeling sad.
Yeah, of course.
And feeling the emotions.
Yeah. I think that's when we talk about feminine energy and masculine energy. Yeah. Like that's so important to me. It's important that my kids see me sad.
Yeah.
It's important that I'm real. It's not good for people to think that I only win. Yeah. I don't win. I try to win more than I lose.
Yeah.
But I don't only win.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
People need to hear that. I believe that the world is emotionally constipated.
Totally.
And if we could just let the emotions run through us and feel them, and it's the only way to the other side.
Yeah.
Did something happen? Like you don't numb with alcohol anymore. So now you let these emotions come through you. You've set alcohol down.
Yeah, a lot happened. I woke up around 40 years old and I was sick of telling myself the lie that I was winning in all areas of my life. I wasn't.
Tell me about that moment. Was it just an epiphany that happened or was it a build up?
There would be times that I would be, fortunately for me, after a rough night of drinking, by the way, which was very common in my peer group. Like I was no different than anybody around me. I mean, I was extreme through college and in a group of really big drinkers, I was the biggest. So, you know, that was a badge of honor.
How you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, but I really took a look within. My wife and I oftentimes would end up kind of battling over things that I would be lying to myself, but not realizing that I was, and insecure and like puffing my chest up. And then only to realize when I was actually in a low moment, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe this is more me than I realize, you know, like maybe this is a big part of. And when I decided, I was hungover sitting on my couch and I had tapered off the drinking, gotten a lot more into fitness, you know, which became like the nucleus of everything for me, for my mental health. And one day I'm sitting with my kids, I'm extremely hungover, had an event the night before, whatever it was. And I turned to my kids. One of them made a comment about, I think I came home late, they were up, made a fool out of myself type thing, just being drunk and whatever. And one of them made a comment to me and I turned to him and I'm like, you're never going to see me drink again. And he's like, what do you know, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you right now, you will never see me drink again. And they like looked at me and I realized in that moment, as they're getting older, if I'm not the ideal father figure to them as a leader, that I'm not only letting myself down, but I'm letting them down, right? It's my job as a father to be the best that I can be so my kids can make good decisions. So when they start drinking, which is inevitable, they know dad doesn't drink, right? So they're comparing themselves to me. And I want people to truly hold me in high regard because the legacy that I want to leave for them is why I get up every morning.
Yeah.
So everything else that happens, the business, the this, the that, at the end of the day, every single thing I do is for my kids. Yeah. And I don't think that I should have had kids if I don't operate that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the first thing that came in my head is the legacy that you're leaving in them, because that's going to carry on.
Yeah. I just want them to be proud. You know, I think I'm breaking chains of our family that there's, unfortunately, like my dad's gone And his memory is people don't bring it up. And it's sad. I learned a lot about how to be a dad because my father did a lot of things that I would never do to my kids, right? So I truly believe it wasn't intentional and it wasn't malicious. He didn't know any better. He grew up in Brooklyn without a father and enlisted himself in the Marines, right? So, but I made that excuse for him for so long. And some people would be like, yeah, but you would think he'd still want to be a good father because he didn't have one. And you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I'm the big drinker and I want to drink. I want to go have fun and I want to do this. I want to that. But you know what? It's not best for my kids. So I'm not going to drink, right? So that's a decision that I'm making. At the end of the day, you're responsible. You're an adult. Like whether or not you came from your childhood was this, you're an adult. Now you're making decisions that affect other people around you and it's your choice, right? He chose to be the dad he was. I'm choosing to be the dad I am.
Mm-hmm. Children aside now, are you doing it for yourself? Also, outside of the kids, outside of being a good dad and that being your persona, what have you gotten out of not?
I've realized that the things that I chased as a loser, right? Like for me, it's funny when I talk about
you're never a loser on paper.
Not on paper,
right?
No. From the outside in, I think that I was doing pretty well, again, by society's standards of success and things of that nature.
But that's what you mean by loser when you were
Yeah, I think I was just part of the system. Again, I was defining my idea of success by other people's ideas of success. It wasn't independent thought. And that's weird for me. I move in my own way and I've put myself in a box and removed myself from a box and so on and so forth. Because I think a lot of people think that you can't be a really good something if you look this way. So for me, I mean, everything in my life changed when I removed alcohol, right? Like I actually had to start sitting with my feelings.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Hard.
But it's also, that's when I first started to deal with my anger. All of that.
Anger because of mom passing away.
Yeah. Again, like the decisions that I helped make earlier in my life that created a little bit more of a difficult road, which ultimately I wouldn't change, right? Like I am who I am because of that road.
Yeah.
There's times in your life when you're down and out and you're like, shit, I'm a victim. I shouldn't be dealing with this. I shouldn't have to go through that, right? But no, always the anger of my mother. And along the way, when you're able to sit with things and not drink, in a world full of how glamorized it is and be with your closest friends and family. And they're like, what do you mean you're not drinking? Like, it's your birthday. I actually would make excuses. So I discovered 75 hard because of the 75 days without drinking. So I would literally start 75 hard. That became my secret weapon.
365?
Yeah, I did.
75.
No, literally, that's what happened. So I did 75 hard, like, in a little over a year, I did it 3 times, right? So at the tail end, instead of having to explain myself, I'd be like, oh no, I'm in the middle of a mental toughness program, right? And by the end of that, people stopped asking me. And then I was done, right? So I said alcohol free in 23. I was like, at the end of 22, I had already not been drinking for a prolonged period of time, but I'd never gone a year without doing it, right? So I just said, I threw it out there on social media that going alcohol free in 23. And then that was the best thing ever because now it was a year because all my closest friends are like, next year, you're definitely going to be there. We're doing the, and I'd be like, and then I threw it out there and I'm like, no, sorry, I can't. Are you ever going to drink again? Why do you fucking care?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Like, why do you care? Doesn't matter, man. And by the way, if you want to fix practically everything in your life and really get to know yourself, remove everything. That's the toughest thing to do.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're in alignment?
I've never been more aligned.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever arrive. I don't know if I'll ever be fully aligned.
Do you feel like you are yourself? Like
you're
carrying
for sure.
yourself everywhere you go?
For sure. It's funny because half of me is this street savvy, like tough exterior where I feel like I'm a resilient human through life experience. But when somebody that I care about does something that hurts me, I'm soft, like it hurts me and it reverberates. And to your point earlier, you start to realize like maybe something's going on with them. Not that I'm perfect, but if you can't really figure out the why behind the thing, and I'm vulnerable and I'm okay with that. I don't think you could really get to know yourself unless you know that you are flawed. And I truly, truly this is so cliche sounding, but I truly try to just be a better person. That's my day job. How could I be better? How could I be a better person?
Well, just think like if we had a society of people that just focused on how they could be a better person, not in a selfish way, but like, how could I just think of how many problems could be solved if we all at the end of the day look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, how good did I do today? Is there any place that I could have done a little bit better?
For sure.
I don't care what anybody else did, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you should leave people in your life that are harming you. I believe they get kicked out or move to the outer edge until they get their shit together and they can act properly. But if you just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, I do that after every, like sales wired me for that. Like, okay, how'd this go?
Yeah.
I kind of have a postmortem. Okay, here's the good. But you know, what I feel from your persona, just our interaction, met on Instagram, kick some messages back and forth. This is my first time interacting with you in person, is that you are a genuine human being. That that if I had one word, it'd be genuine. Second word is integrity. And I believe that relationships are important to you.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
are relationships important to you?
Yeah. But they have to be the right relationships. They have to be reciprocal in nature. There can't be terms, but it has to be fluid.
Yeah.
But for sure, I mean, I care about people. The only positive thing for me that came out of my pain is the hope that I can help somebody who's going through that pain now. So when you talk about numbers and podcast, like that's why I don't care. You know, if one person happens upon this conversation and they're thinking about, would not drinking or cutting down drinking be a benefit to me? 1,000,000% yes. And the reality is that all of the problems in your life are a result of your choices. I learned that all of the problems that I had in my life were my choices, and I just want to make better choices.
Yeah. Well, just your vulnerability of being willing to share your story. And what I hear from you is that the moment you take responsibility of your life, that's when things start to change. And it's like you stop blaming and you start like, shit happens.
Yeah, of course. Shit happens. And we'll continue.
But right now, for me to get myself to the next place, what do I need to do? And I've seen this from coaching so many people, like that changes everything. The minute that people just go, okay, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get to my truth.
Yes. For me, I describe it really like, again, the things I wanted the most when I was so focused on chasing them, chasing butterflies, as opposed to trying to just be better today than I was yesterday. Yeah. All of a sudden, it was like I was building a garden and the butterflies came to me. Yeah. And that's really like where I am now, right? Like it's not, I'm not, look to your point. It's amazing that you can see that. I'm not looking for the recognition. I'm looking for the inner peace.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's success to me.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I just want to. It's important to me to give you your flowers because I do recognize that you show up for the right reasons. And you're,
Chrissy, I go to war every day. Like I still go to war every day. So I know. I'll accept the flowers and I appreciate that. I'm not riding off into the sunset. I put out fires all day.
No, I wouldn't want to talk to you.
No, 100%.
I wouldn't want to talk to you.
No, but I want people to realize that. Like it's not.
And duality exists though.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I want people to see too, that we get out of here, right? My energy just shifted. Like we get out of here. We're going to go crush
We're ready.
You know?
Exactly.
And
we're going to walk into New York City and we might get stabbed the minute we walk out.
I might get stabbed in New York City. I might get run over in New York City.
A doorman's going to save you.
Doorman, of course he is.
Exactly.
Yeah, a doorman's going to save me because that's another podcast you have to listen to.
That's right.
But duality can exist.
Of course.
And we can be these people for a minute. We can be in our hearts for a minute and we can be soft for a minute and we can be strong as well. And that is who we are. So why do we have to?
Core values, right? Like it comes back to, and I stray, right? But it comes back to where is my center? Yeah. How far am I getting from these things, right? Like I need to come back. I need to come back. I need to regroup. But the work that I choose to do and the people that I get to meet along the way, I mean, it doesn't feel like work, even though it's hard
There's
work.
A lot of work.
It's hard work. It's hard work. This is the fun part.
Yeah, it really is. You do a great job of keeping track of yourself on social.
Thank you.
Where can people find you on your social? It's just an inspiration to follow along.
Thank you very much. My Instagram.
You make me check myself.
Oh, yeah? Okay. That's good. We should inspire each other and push each other. My Instagram is probably the hub to all the things. It's Jason with a Y, Jayson, Siano, Siano. That's the best place to find me. Sabre is my core business, SABRE.life. And I'd love to hear from people. and see if there's ways that we can connect and collab and do all the good things.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
It really
much.
has.
I already want part 2.
Likewise. This is
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.